Hello everyone, just a brief introduction to something that's a new format of video for my channel. I recently had a conversation with fellow YouTuber Devin Krueger and fellow collector as well on Skype, and we recorded it. We chat about all sorts of things, sort of different bits of our collections, what got us into collecting and so forth. Devin has a very extensive collection of militaria from various different countries, and many of his videos cover a good deal of the collection. So I highly recommend checking out his channel, link in the description of course. There's also some interesting videos on leather care and looking after your boots and so forth, which I know may well be of use to some of my subscribers, so go and check him out. But we just thought that talking and doing a bit of a collab in this way may be of interest to people. So hopefully this will be of interest to my subscribers and his as well. That should be recording now in theory. Right. Awesome. So yeah, I suppose one of the things I'd say from the start is obviously you collect sort of a huge range of stuff. Is there sort of anything that is there anything you prefer collecting, or you seem to collect lots of different countries and so on, and not have any specific?
Well, yeah, it really comes down to like I have about three things that I have a lot of that I tend to know a little bit about that I like to say. Obviously, I have a ton of helmets.
Yes, indeed.
I have 770 helmets in various stages of completion.
Seriously?
They're all different, yes.
Wow.
And then it would have to be boots. I am a certified cobbler cordwainer.
Right.
So I make shoes, and
Yes.
I also collect a lot of historical shoes. I've got military shoes going all the way back to the War of 1812.
Wow. Because I saw your recent videos on leather care and so forth, which I was going to recommend to people, obviously from the point of view of looking after, particularly if you're wearing original boots for reenacting and stuff.
Exactly, because people don't understand that even if you're really, really hard on a pair of shoes, a little bit of preventive maintenance and stuff like that will make them last years longer than just beating them up. Because I know people want that to achieve that like well-hardened, battle-worn look, but that's going to wear them out a lot faster, obviously, you know?
Yes.
And then...
in actual active service, of course, the care of your boots was a major thing, you know, using dubbing and so forth.
People don't notice that's one of the things, like, most armies, even today still, polish their boots. And a lot of people look at... so a lot of countries have got away from that. Like, obviously, America does not do that anymore. They stopped doing that in the mid-2000s. They don't issue black boots anymore. They're all suede.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, but people think that suede also doesn't need maintenance because that's how the U.S. has built them, that you just wear them for a year and then they wear out and you get a new pair. But that's also not true. You need to take care of suede just as much. Yeah. So, and then...
boots, helmets, and obviously you
tons of canteens and mess kits.
Yes. Yeah.
I've got billions of canteens and mess kits. I have 11 cabinets in my house, and 9 of them are for canteens and mess kits.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Because I didn't realise, is it as your video on the 1944 pattern water bottle canteen, depending on which country you're from, was it Denmark made a copy? Was it Danish copy?
Yes, the Danes still actually field the P44 canteen. Yeah,
which is fascinating because it's something I didn't know until watching your channel that they'd copied the design and so on.
They did. Well, they also copied the pattern 37 webbing. They copied the DMS boots. They copied the battle dress. At one point, they had everything except for the helmet. Basically,
I think I've seen the carriers for the canteen made in tan rather than green. Obviously, the British, the water bottles. The British, obviously, the green for the 1944 webbing. I've seen the carriers, but I didn't realise they actually carried I thought they maybe used an M1910 style or something like that in that type of carrier. I didn't realise they copied the bottle as well. So it's all these little bits of information that
it's the same thing, but they did this like olive color instead of a green. Yeah. So
as I say, we're focusing on British. I don't really see a great deal of that sort of stuff. I know a little bit about the European copies of our kit, but not a great deal. And I found that very interesting. I have to say, it was very interesting indeed. So
I watch your stuff too because I'm not. I don't have a ton of British stuff because it's not readily available here in North America.
Of course.
So but there's a lot of people around here who do reenact it, and it's just something I never got into. And I discovered your videos about a year ago. And I started watching it, and that's what inspired me to start putting together. Well, I had some web gear to start completing sets and put it all up. And so, like, I have the full 51 pattern set, the Canadian 51 pattern set. I've got the full 1899 pattern set, which is what Canada went into World War I with.
Indeed,
and so it's just you inspired me to put all that together, and I have the mannequin coming, so I can.
Oh, excellent! I look forward to seeing that in future videos. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, because I wanted to do it in like your style, because like before I had it all laid out and it was kind of hard to see, and I'm like, I really should get a mannequin, and then I saw you do it. And it's like, well, fuck.
Yeah, I think that there's space for both, because on the mannequin you can show it how it's worn, so it shows where everything sits on the body. I guess it shows how low the pouches sit or how high, because obviously a lot of the American way, certainly more modern times, is you wear everything a bit lower down. Obviously Second World War British kit, everything's actually worn very high up, and
it's like actually on the chest, whereas the Americans wear theirs around like the belt.
That's right. So the belt should sit above your hips, right over your navel, right over the belly button for Second World War, basically, around where the waist belt of the blouse is, basically. And that you can show a lot more easily on the mannequins but I think laying out on the floor is still very useful, because it actually shows how it all goes together. Have you seen Khaki Web, the website? I've linked it to my videos. You've seen
I put a comment. Yeah, you put a comment on that telling me to go look at that. I did a lot of reading. I just sat there for like a couple weeks, and all I did was just read everything that they had on that website.
It's very good, I have to say. From a British point of view, obviously it doesn't really cover anything. A little bit of Commonwealth stuff, but not. It's mainly British, but it's still interesting, as I say.
It is very interesting. Yeah. So I read through all of that, and I learned a ton. So I'm getting into that stuff now.
Yeah.
So, and obviously my focus is because I'm trying to cut back on everything. I'm trying to be more specific. So like you're very specific to British stuff for the most part.
A little bit of Commonwealth, but mainly British. Yeah.
And I'm trying to cut back to do, for one, because I have way too much shit. And for two, because I there's countries that I have more knowledge on than others, and that'd be Canada, Switzerland, and Finland. Those are like my three that I do a ton of.
I know you.
And I'm trying to cut back to just those, so I could go a little bit more in depth, because my channel is more about scratching the surface.
Sorry, just trying to stop from nuzzling the laptop there. There we go.
Right.
So yeah, but as you say, I think that's a good idea. Is sticking with what you know is always a good one. But I think there's also one of the ways you learn more about kit is by picking it up at show. I mean, plastics. Some of the stuff I've picked up in pound piles and things, dollar bins, basically equivalent, I guess, at shows and things. And you don't know what it is, and you go and find out. I mean, obviously, Khaki Web's been great from that, because it shows all the different how kits develops over the years, which wasn't really known. Not a huge amount was known about that previously, particularly post Second World War. But I think that certainly by buying some kit, and maybe if you don't know what something is, I mean, I've had people advise on videos, saying, oh, well, that is actually for this, it's not for that. And I've found it really useful, is having it out on the public forum means you get a lot of input, which I find very useful. So, but I think there is certainly something for sticking to stuff
exactly. Well, it's just going to
knowledge.
It's going to restrict my place from looking like a garbage heap is the main priority. So,
where do you keep your 700 odd helmets?
Well, they're not all here, because right now I'm living in the city for work.
Mm-hmm.
I am from the middle of absolute fucking nowhere. I am from so far north in Canada. There is no running water, no power, and no radio waves even.
Yeah. I don't think we have anywhere left like that in the UK. I don't think even I don't think anywhere even in the Highlands of Scotland is that quite that isolated. So yeah,
it's just so I didn't know what a flush toilet was until I was almost an adult.
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, so I ended up I'm living in a big city right now, and I say big city, it's 60,000 people, but it's
it feels
huge for me.
Yeah.
My town was like 9 people.
Yeah.
So, and now it's my family has a farm. Well, it's my stepdad's farm, because my mom moved to the United States before I did, because I had to finish my military service before I could leave.
Gotcha.
And she met a guy, and he has a farm that's like 5 miles south of here, and that's where all of my guns are.
Right.
And most of my helmets and stuff are stacked up in the attic of the old farmhouse there, which nobody lives in anymore.
Right, I see. So, but a good place to store them, and it's not too far away, I guess. So
exactly, it's like 6 miles away. It's not.
It's not too bad. Yeah.
So
I'm afraid I'm most of my kit is currently squatting in my grandparents' loft. So similar, kind of a similar situation.
Yeah.
Really, relying on family.
I mean, at least I have the old farmhouse. They keep the bottom 2 floors for like all the farm equipment and stuff like that for all their cattle, and then I get the attic because nobody wants to walk up there to get it anyways. So it's like, I guess.
Yeah. Dear, oh dear, that's excellent. I say that is one of the biggest problems I think with collecting is finding space to keep everything. It's certainly a problem I'm looking at when I'm thinking, hopefully in a couple of years' time, maybe buy a house, and it's something we're looking into is like finding a house somewhere where it's cheap enough that you can get a big enough house to be able to store stuff properly, because it's not just storing, it's preserving it, it's making
sure. And you want to take good care of it. And like, obviously some of this stuff is not going to be doing so well in that old farm attic. No. Because it's, a very, very old farmhouse. There is leaks in it, and there is mice, and there is other stuff. So I'm trying to keep it all in a spot where it's not going to get destroyed, obviously, but I don't have the space for it here. So I feel you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I think 700 helmets, I think you've got a slightly bigger problem than I have, but I empathize, put it that way. So what got you into collecting in the first place then? What sort of started up? Was it your military service or...?
It was kind of before that, actually. My dad, he was in the Canadian Special Forces for like 20 years. And the very first helmet I ever got, I still have it, actually. Well, part of it. I beat the crap out of it because I didn't know what it was as a kid. I didn't learn to appreciate it.
No, that's...
But he got me like a 1945 dated... This is back when they were like real common. So he got me like a 1945 dated like swivel bale M1.
Oh, wow.
As like a bike helmet. Because my head was so square as a kid that it couldn't fit in like the normal bike helmets.
Polystyrene, yeah.
Yeah, so he gave me one of those to use, and I repainted it every color of the freaking rainbow, and wore it back down to bare metal, and then eventually the liner on it fell apart, and I couldn't wear it anymore after just years and years of using it.
But that's the thing, is so much sort of stuff that was kind of surplus, I guess, went that way.
Yeah.
Because it got used up in that sort of way, it's one of those things. I mean, a classic example with the British, I don't know if you watched my stuff on anti-gas kit, the British with the gas cape and stuff. The gas capes after the war, after they went out of military service, which I think was in the early 50s, they were all sold off and they were used as one, like, the modern plastic ponchos. They were sold off for use like that. So they'd be used.
They were sold off as rain ponchos.
Basically, they would be used once and then thrown away, sort of thing, because they're so flimsy.
Yeah.
And that's it. They all disappeared that way, and that's why there's so few original ones around now. It's literally, they were used up. They're one of the few. Anything that was practical was sold off and used up. So it's.
I find that with like a lot of like Finnish stuff. Like you look at, I love the M39 Mosin. I've got like 12 of them.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
But the thing is, the bayonet is worth more than the rifle.
Oh right.
Because people kept the knives to use as knives.
Of course, yes.
After the war was over.
Yeah.
And so I have one that has an actual matching bayonet. And if I ever wanted to sell the rifle, which is all matching except for the floor plate, because you'll never find a matching floor plate, because they upgraded them to anti-jam floor plates.
Oh, I see. Right.
They don't get rim lock. But I have a matching bayonet. And I had it appraised at, it's like $9,000 because they're matching. They're all matching. And I bought it for $700 from a guy who didn't know what it was. The whole rifle and the bayonet combo.
It's great when that happens. It's always satisfying when that happens.
So it's like, is that a real M39? First thing I asked him was like, is that a real M39 bayonet? He's like, yeah, it even matches. He's like, I've had it. My grandfather bought it years ago. Mm-hmm. But that thing is where there's certain parts of it, like for gas masks, like I don't know if you know a lot about Canadian gas masks. I have 4 different Canadian gas masks.
I was going to say not a huge amount. I know about the C3, which is kind of like the light anti-gas respirator upgraded, and there are different versions.
It's just upgraded to take a standard like 40mm filter.
Yeah, and it has
all it is.
And it's got a nose. I think does it have a nose cup and a nasal cup in it as well, or does some of the latest designs do? Yeah. I don't.
It's actually the same as the Danish one, but the Danish one has like a big cone that comes out the front.
Right. Okay.
So, but they, before that though, they're all the same basically, except for the markings. But in Canada, you never find the bags for them because people use the bags as like totes and stuff like that. Yeah. So you could find the gas mask, but the bag is worth more than the gas mask.
Yeah. One of the most annoying things on that, I think, probably from that point of view, on the British collectors market relating to respirators and gas masks and things, is the Mark 7, which is the Indiana Jones bag. Is the bag he uses as a as a haversack in the Indiana Jones films. And they bought it from a store in London, apparently near the studios, near Pinewood, I think.
Yeah.
And they were told when they bought it, well, it's 1942 onwards, or 41, 42. Anyway, it's past the 30s. It's well past the 30s. We actually have some 30s ones here. You could have a 30s,
if you want an actual,
or a First World War surplus, considering obviously it was here. You have a small box respirator haversack.
Yeah.
Oh no, we'll have that one. But it means that what is actually a very common thing to find, there are loads of them around. They're actually still sold for a decent price because people want them as indie back, as Indiana Jones back.
I know, right?
Putting the straps off them to modify them and everything, But,
yeah, and that's what I'd see. So, like, a lot of the ones when I was looking for one, like one in original condition, which over here is impossible to find. And the ones that I do find are all like, oh, we bought all these and they are original, but we converted them to Indiana
we put
Jones
a leather strap on them.
Yeah,
it is. It's interesting. It's not a massive problem because there's plenty of them around, but it's interesting how a pop culture element of it can go in and affect the collector's market sort of thing.
I better pick one up while I can then. So, because I'm trying to send Canadian stuff to everybody because nobody's doing it.
Yeah, well, I need to. There is a chap on Canadian eBay selling the 1951 pattern stuff.
Yeah, I've been looking around on that for you, and right now, actually, there's a lot of stuff on there.
I'm going to see if I can see if there's a way of doing bulk shipping that would make it economical to buy bits.
And a recommendation for you is if you're looking for it, try when you go on eBay instead of typing in just regular eBay.
Yeah.
eBay.ca, which will take you to Canadian eBay, which will have way more listings. And then a lot of times they say they won't ship to like England, but if you're like, if you message them first and you'll be like, hey, if I'm willing to pay extra, will you ship it to England? And since Webgear doesn't weigh that much, and the Canadian Post is actually quite efficient, you're not going to spend that much more money. So unless you're buying like the whole set, but there's a few parts that are going to be near impossibly for you to find.
Yes,
and that's the two backpacks, the small and the larger version. They're near impossible to find, and the holster.
I guess they were used up because they're useful like before. But I would say to anyone watching this, if from when I upload it, that's a good thing to do. Is if you're looking for stuff, is obviously look on the nation's own eBay, so Australian eBay, Canadian eBay. If you're looking for stuff from there,
well, people ask me all the time, and I'm like. So they're like, if you're looking for something French military surplus, it's one thing because I like France. I'm like, try eBay.fr because you're gonna find way more in that country from people that aren't willing to, that don't even want to ship international. Yeah, but if you message them and ask you're willing to pay more, they'll oftentimes do it. So
you will actually quite often find as well. I've found bits of British kit on there as well, which obviously have been taken over. They've been left at a barn. It's a barn find, or something just left with someone they've found, or they actually sell it on French eBay rather than, and because it's on French eBay, it gets less interest from UK bidders, and you can actually find some good deals on there if you know what to search for. And Google Translate is wonderful. I mean, my schoolboy French isn't very good.
Google Translate is awesome.
It does help. But yeah, no, I say that's another, I guess, useful piece of advice is, as you say, is look around the different, for online shopping. I mean, obviously buying in person is always nice, but online shopping is a good way, definitely the best way of doing things. So yeah. I'm trying to think if I've had any. What's it I picked up? I'm trying to actually think of what it was I found on French eBay that I can't remember for the life of me what it was now. But never mind. Yeah. So how
much of the Pattern 51 stuff do you have?
I don't have any. I haven't bought any yet. I've been window shopping. I'm just starting a new job, and I'm thinking when I get my first paycheck, it might be from this new job. It might be something I look into buying some of, because I really like, a bit like the 9044 pattern webbing has. Obviously the hooks, the grommets in it, the eyelets to let you hang American M1910 stuff, and it has the American, obviously the obvious influence on the water bottle canteen set. I like that mix of American and British.
It's that perfect blend,
Same with, it's interesting, it's same with the Australian, which is obviously a more direct copy, but the Australian M1956 stuff. Yes. The US kit, but they adapted it, and all the ends on the straps are that British style with the little rivet through and everything. Yeah. So it's interesting. I always love that blend of the two countries.
It's the same thing. I love that mashup between two countries, and you're going to be real satisfied with it. And the cool thing is if you can't find a whole set of Canadian pattern 51 gear, like I said in my video, it was used in conjunction with pattern 37 gear.
Yes, yeah.
And American M36 gear, which is their World War II equivalent.
Yes.
So you can find, I've seen pictures of Canadians that have a 51 pattern belt, but they have 37 pattern braces.
Yeah. Braces,
and they have a pattern 37 canteen, as well as an American canteen.
Really? That's
yeah.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's so you can do whatever you want with it. Basically,
a photo or two on Facebook. I'd love to see. That'd be fascinating if you've got them.
I can do that for you.
That's brilliant. So, thank you.
And it's just
because I think a lot of people don't realise that because obviously Canada used 1937 pattern through the Second World War as kind of the official web equipment. But they also used American kit as well, which I don't think a lot of people know about. You do see, you know, the cartridge belts and everything else from the US kit. Yeah. So it makes
the Korean War,
and Australia as well during the Korean War, and obviously during the Second World War as well. So it makes perfect sense that post-war you see Canada in the early
transition. They transition away from British stuff into like American stuff.
And a mashup to start with. It's very interesting. It is very interesting. The whole, I mean, the 1944 pattern is a case in point because of the history of its development's a bit muddled, but the idea behind the green version for use in the tropics is well understood. And I always the logic behind how things developed and how they're trying to solve the problem, because it's always the problem of how do they carry the load comfortably, and how do we carry a big enough load, and how can we make it adaptable so it can carry whatever load's needed. And I'm always fascinated to see the different responses to that different countries come up with, if you know what I mean. You know,
exactly.
You think it's one problem, so you'd have everything would kind of converge on one answer, but it doesn't. It's all over the place.
No, you know? Everyone's got their own set of beliefs and how they want to work stuff out, and it never. Some countries get close to the same idea.
Yeah, but it's never quite the same. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
That's one thing that's upcoming. Is as soon as I've got I'm waiting on name tapes for my M1951 field jacket. And once they've arrived, I'm going to do a video on, I've already put a teaser up for it, on M1956 versus British 58 pattern. So a comparison of the two to see, because they're both designed, from what I've read and understand, they're both designed with a similar mentality, sort of armoured infantry, you know, to carrying your combat load. And I'm going to do a comparison between the two countries' sort of response to that requirement, because they are quite different. I mean, they're the same in a lot of ways in basic design terms, but the way different issues were dealt with is quite interesting between the two. So that's coming up hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
I hope so. I look forward to it.
There's a chap in Hong Kong who has a set of stamps. He's selling on eBay name tapes. He has a set of stamps to do the original US stamped name tapes. Not the pre-embroidered. I think embroidered tended to be private purchase, but this guy has a set of original block stamps for doing the white name tape on the jacket.
Oh,
just waiting.
That wasn't done with the stamp, you know that, right?
Yeah. Sorry, what's that? Sorry.
That wasn't done with the stamp, you know that, right?
Oh, is it not? Oh, interesting.
No, I actually got a set of them right here.
Oh, I don't. Fascinating.
What they did is they got this kind of like oil impregnated cloth in a stencil.
I see. Right.
And then you would just go over it with marker. Yeah.
Got you. Okay, I've misunderstood what he's written. I think I've misread what he's written in the thing. No, that's interesting. I thought it was the Royal Navy used what they call a type, which is basically a wooden type block to stamp stuff in, and I had assumed it was a similar thing. But no, that's interesting. I didn't know you had a set. That's fascinating to see.
They'd give you one, and it would have your first initial and then your last name in 3 different sizes for your different gear. So they'd have one for your uniform, one to do like your tags and your ID books and stuff with, and then a large one to do like your duffel bag with.
Of course, yeah. Interesting.
So
very.
And that's how they did it. They would initially started as like vinyl type paint.
Yes.
Like way back in World War II, it was like vinyl type paint you would put on there, and it would soak in, and then it would turn into like rubber, and it would stay pretty dark for a long time.
Yeah.
And then later it went to like just marker, and you would have to re-go over it as you would wear it, obviously, because it would wash out and it would sun fade. And
I don't think the Navy had anything fancy with that. I think it was just black paint and white paint, depending on the colour of the...
Yeah, depending on what colour it was.
I don't think it was anything quite as fancy as that. But no, that's very interesting. Well, thank you for clearing that up. I didn't know that. That is an interesting little bit of information.
So you can get those made in anything you want. I know a guy that has a bunch of these original boards, and you could stamp them out in like 5 different sizes and anything you want. There's like a character limit of like 25 per line, but you could get 3 lines.
Yeah, fascinating.
Yeah, and it's like, I think it's like $10 US, which I think is like 8.5 pounds.
Oh, I might have to. Yeah, there's something around. I might look into that then, because that would be good to. If I'm getting any more US kit, I could make my own, which would be good. So
that would be good.
A limited amount of US kit, because it's mainly stuff that was used by Britain. But the M51, I have the M1956 kit, the load carrying equipment, because obviously the Australians used it in Vietnam.
Yep.
So I bought that, and then I was like, well, I want to do a comparison. So I found a beaten up M1951 on French eBay. That is where.
There you go. That was the thing you found on French eBay. Yep.
It was another thing as well I was trying to think of earlier, but that did go on eBay. But it was £18, which is not, what, $23, something like that.
Yeah, even in the United States, they're not that cheap.
No, it has a massive big tear. Trying to think where it is. It's in the other room, but it's had a big tear put in on the left arm, I think, and that's been a piece of cloth in behind and then stitched to stitch it up. But for my purposes, it's absolutely
that's fine. Yeah, that's totally fine, because people beat up on them anyways, and you want to show like how it was used.
So I wasn't too fussed about that, but it was really cheap for what it was. So
yeah, over here they're like $70.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I suppose they got used up, didn't they? Again, it's another practical bit of surplus, those combat jackets. And obviously, I think you see them be surplus, I guess, in the mid-Cold War period, begins to become, like wearing combat jackets becomes more of a fashion thing almost.
Yeah, they came out in like, they became real big on the surplus market in like the 60s and 70s, because then they came out with the direct replacement, which is like the best combat coat ever made, the M65 field jacket, which literally everyone copied.
Yes.
And so that's when they finally got rid of them. Now they're dried up, and there's people actually making repros, and I got like 2 or 3 of them. And
is it Miltech who make the Miltech make the?
They make the European ones, yeah.
Yeah.
But the American ones, they're all made in Honduras by some company. Yeah. So.
One thing I did look at getting purely as a wearing jacket was I think some company in, I'm not sure where it is now, but on a US eBay I saw it anyway, is a Mitchell pattern camouflage M65, which apparently, according to...
I have one as well.
Yeah, is this a repro one or one of the...
Mine is a repro one, but it's made using original shelter fabric.
Oh, I see. That's cool.
So it's made out of original parts, but it's not made during the war. It was made by some guy who does it in his garage in like 2008.
Yes,
but it's the exact copy.
I love the camouflage pattern so much. That leaf and branch camo is just amazing, and it just as a wearing jacket to wear around, because as you say, it's a great jacket. It's a really well designed jacket, and they're nice to wear. So I might be picking one of those up possibly, and then
they're cool.
Then I'll have to do like a favorite camouflages video, because I think I'll have an example of each of my favorite camouflage patterns.
There you go.
Video for the future, perhaps.
That'd be good. My camouflage videos, people go ape for them, and I've cleared up so much on them. Like, one of the things is people call that pattern that you really like the Mitchell pattern, but that's not called it.
No, indeed, no. Yeah.
Everyone calls it the Mitchell pattern, but it's actually, they call it the vine leaf pattern. Yes. The Mitchell pattern was the clouds pattern on the back of it.
Yes. Yeah. Gotcha. Interesting. Oh, the inside, yes, of course.
Yeah. The tan side was the Mitchell pattern. The green side was vine leaf. Yeah.
Right. Got you. I didn't know the official. I knew there was a problem with the naming, and I know I just got so used to calling it that. It's like the other day in my Mannequin of the Month video I did on the British Army in the Gulf, and I called the 6 helmet Kevlar, because when I was younger and I didn't know any better,
that's just what everyone called them. Yeah.
I got so used to calling it a Kevlar helmet that it's just completely ingrained in my brain now, and I can't get it out.
Yeah, that's what I watched. I was like, no,
it's not Kevlar.
I'm like, as a helmet guy, I'm like, it's not Kevlar, and I went and I checked the comments. But
the annoying thing is, I watched that through before I uploaded it, and I didn't even clock that I'd said, because I heard the Mark 6 combat helmet, and then I think I say, and here we have the Mark 6 combat helmet. Kevlar helmet, and my brain blanked out the Kevlar helmet, but I didn't even notice I'd said it, which is terrible because I do know it's made of ballistic nylon.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that the Mark 7 was actually made of Kevlar instead of ballistic nylon. So now everyone thinks they're all made of Kevlar or they're all made of ballistic nylon.
Yes, and there are differences in the design beyond the shape change. Yeah. But no, I think I'll have to do. You might have seen the photo. I don't know if you've seen the photos of the amazing Dayglo Dpm.
Yes, the real bright stuff, the jungle stuff. I love that. I'm probably gonna. I'm gonna do a video comparing different DPM patterns because a bit like I guess a good equivalent would be US Tiger Stripe, where all these names have been come up. Have been created to differentiate all these different versions of Tiger Stripe, different manufacturers of Tiger Stripe. A similar thing has happened with DPM, but on a much, it's a much less well known about sort of system. True, and then there's like the dyes are off and the manufacturing.
And whether you've got dots around the edge of the black and all that sort of thing. So I've got quite a good selection, so I'll have to go through. But it is literally just different manufacturers. There's no... And it does change a little bit over time, but there's no wherefore. It's like the sparse desert stuff with the less colours in it. It's purely that factory produced that cloth, and then the company making the clothing made the clothing out of it. It's not any, it's not any actual different pattern.
It's not a different model. It's just manufacturer differences. But are you going to do the DPM on like all the other countries that used it too, or just the British stuff?
Just the British stuff, probably to start with. I might throw the Kiwi, I might throw the New Zealand shirt in because I don't have any Dutch or anything like that. So I might throw the New Zealand shirt in as well.
Do you want a Canadian reversed DPM one?
No, I did not know such a thing existed.
They were only issued to paratroopers. They have the paratrooper smock, and they have reverse DPM. It's blown up, and all the colors are flipped around. So where it's green, it's brown, and where it's brown, it's green.
That's fascinating. I didn't know that.
So, they were actually really, really popular with the British Army for a while. So you actually might be able to find one over there.
Yeah, possibly.
Because they didn't have the elastic cuffs. They had a button cuff, which people liked a lot more because they didn't wear out as fast.
I think I know the garment you mean, but I didn't realize that the pattern had been switched around. That's really interesting.
It's called in the collector's market either Canadian DPM or reversed DPM because it is reversed.
I'll definitely have to keep an eye out for one of those because I love stuff like I like the variants on a theme sort of thing.
I've actually seen more of them come up for sale from England than I do in Canada even.
Interesting.
So,
yeah. Well, it blends in, doesn't it? You're not going to be picked up.
No, you can't pick them out. Like I've seen people like show photos of it, like other YouTube videos and stuff, where people show them side by side, British paratroopers, because a lot of them private purchased these.
Yeah.
We're standing next to guys with the normal British ones, and you can't pick them out really. So unless you're looking really hard,
Yes, because I know in the 80s a lot of stuff began to be customized more, particularly post Falklands. You see a lot more
freedom in
a lot
uniforms,
more leeway given, and the same degree in Northern Ireland as well. Certain units in Northern Ireland in the late 70s, early 80s over there, you got a bit more leeway. The problem with the modern private purchase mentality is it's kind of been transposed back onto like the Second World War and the early Cold War era when it didn't really exist. There was no private suppliers. It's very much a sort of an 80s thing.
Yeah,
but I can well imagine in the 80s someone picking up one of those smocks. I mean, brilliant chap posted a photo on the Facebook group the other day where he's taken the 68 pattern smock and they've taken the front pockets off the top, the chest pockets, and then they've got two big patches of DPM fabric with Velcro openings and stitched the pockets back on top of those. So you've got two big Mac pockets and then you've got the button pockets on the outside of those. And
that's awesome.
It's his issue smock that it's been modified. So obviously he's been allowed to, he's got away with doing that. And that's
he's probably done it in such a way where it doesn't really show either, unless you're looking really hard. But same thing like in the United States, you see a lot of people that they would customize their uniform. They take the chest pockets off, especially when body armor came around. Take the chest pockets off and they moved them up here on the arms.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah. So, sense. So you can still get at them. That makes a huge amount of sense, I have to say.
And so many people did it that the next uniform after that, pockets are up on the arms.
That's another thing I love seeing is as we were saying with the chest pockets, the mat pockets. That's the 68 pattern. You've got then there was another pattern, but in the 90s, both the pre-Soldier 95 and the Soldier 95 smock have zip open map pockets at the front. So they did exactly as you say. They copied that sort of
so
thing.
Many people did it that it's like the military had to make a change.
Yeah, exactly.
So I like that so much, though, where a body influences its own governing system.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely, and it happens a lot. I mean, there's a lot of soldier influence modifications to kit. I think it is just a sensible thing to do. If you've got blokes in the field who are make modifications that they find practical, then obviously that's
you might as well
cuts down on your R&D costs. You're not having to experiment. You just go, well, that's they like that. That's good. So I guess it's a sensible thing to do. But it's very interesting. As I say, I just love looking at I suppose that's one of the things that interests me most about the collecting. And I mean, I've been very interested in watching your videos sort of on helmet development and how helmets change. And the M1 is because it was in service so long and had so many and foreign modifications and different takes on it.
There's from what I counted, 871 different versions of the M1 helmet.
Wow.
That have ever been fielded. 871.
It's crazy. That's crazy. But again, the development of that and what led to that is fascinating to me. I find that that side of the history of it absolutely fascinating. So, yeah.
It's great. It's so great.
Hello, you. Yeah. You're making all these noises in the background. I don't know how much the cat's going to the sound of the cat in the background is going to show up on the
I've only heard it 1 or 2 times. So it's like the beginning. So you're doing just fine. I don't think people will be too worried in the winter. The internet loves cats.
It's a cat on it, so it'll be fine. But yeah, it's been really good talking to you, Devin. I'm afraid I'm probably going to have to head off now because we've got some stuff.
That's totally fine, man. I got stuff to do too.
I've shifted what I was going to do before, at 3. I've shifted that stuff to 3 o'clock now. So I'll need to head off now and do a couple of other bits first. But it'd be really good to chat again at some point. That would be fun.
I'm all for it, man.
And I'm very much looking forward to seeing your new videos, particularly when the mannequin arrives.
I can't wait for the mannequin to arrive. So.
Would you? One thing I'll say just before we go, and I can always edit this out. Would you like me to send you a copy of the raw footage to edit and put on your channel as well, or do you want me to just put it on my channel and you can link?
Just throw it up on your channel. That'll be more than fine. Just throw my channel down there in the link.
Of course.
Put that down there and just be like, if you want to see more of this guy's stuff, well, that's totally fine for me.
I'll make a little outro for it, saying that your channel's obviously in the description. Of course, that's brilliant.
Perfect.
Really good talking to you, and I look forward to chatting to you again, and of course seeing more videos.
That's right. We'll have to do it again soon. Same with you.
Absolutely. Nice one. Well, bye for now, and have a good morning, because it's still very early morning.
Yep, very early here.
Enjoy the rest of the day.
You too.
Bye for now.
Bye.